welcome back, listeners, to the Mindful Living, where we explore conscious choices, personal growth, and the intersection of innovation with inner transformation. I'm your host, Sana, as always, and today's episode is a journey into the powerful meeting point between technology and self development. Listeners, meet my guest, Joshua Hale. And well, he isn't your average AI expert. From being a high school dropout and overcoming addiction to running a 10-acre homestead while helping entrepreneurs build seven-figure businesses with AI, Joshua's story is a masterclass. It is, listeners, in resilience, reinvention, and radical authenticity. And also, he's the founder of JH Media and Consulting. He's a strategist who's helping small business owners not just survive this AI revolution happening right now, but thrive within it with purpose and autonomy. And through his work and upcoming book, which is 15 Biggest AI Dangers You Will Face in Your Lifetime, he is advocating for responsible AI use, community building, and independence as well. So, if you have ever thought or wondered how AI can help not hijack your journey of self growth, you are in for a meaningful and mindful conversation, listeners. So, with that, Joshua, welcome to the show. And as always, it is such an honor to have you with us.
And thank you so much for having me on. It really is an area that I love to talk about, not just tech, but yeah, how it's impacting us and how we can thrive in this time and not, be ran over by it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just this beautiful intersection of humanity and technology that we need to talk about, spread awareness.
Yeah, I'm all for tech so long as it stays on the outside of us.
That's right. That's right. That's really mindful. So, Joshua, to begin with, let's talk about your journey. From addiction to AI strategist. It's really, really powerful, really inspiring. So, in this, uh, how did your personal healing shape your relationship with tech, especially in leveraging AI for self growth?
Yeah, well, it really started out with me trying to figure out my what I'm passionate about and my purpose. I used to work in the restaurant industry, and even though I like to cook, yeah, I didn't real feel a lot of fulfillment from it. And it wasn't until me trying to clean up the bad habits that I had acquired that I came across affirmations, and it was through affirmations and using affirmations that I came up with my first business. I created it's called I Am It affirmations, and I created a custom affirmation track using my own voice and taking and making an audio MP3 of me saying powerful affirmations that I could just hit play and repeat with throughout the day. And what was so unique about this was the first half was above auditory levels, and the second half I repeated it below auditory levels. So it was a subliminal message of yourself, from yourself to yourself. And I shared that with a friend, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." She's like, "Would you make me one?" And I said, "Well, sure, yeah." So I helped her come up with affirmations. I helped her record it. Then I made her that nice fancy track, and she loved it. She said, "You should make a business doing this for people." And that was really kind of my first introduction into finding ways to provide value to others that, I was excited about. It helped me a lot, and I was excited to tell the world all about it. So I ended up spending, this was back in 2012, spending a year, doing everything wrong on social media, yelling at people in all caps, trying to let them know how great this product was. And, I was the hero for figuring this out. And through that experience, I learned a lot of skills that I realized others were going to have to adopt, right? 2012 was pretty early in the social media world, and I knew every business was going to have to like start to um, promote themselves on there. So I ended up getting my first client, helping them out with social media, and then learning all about digital marketing from there for Facebook advertising to
Mhm.
lead generation to email marketing to, full digital marketing landscape. And
Mhm.
that was really where I found a lot of purpose, right? Being of service to others. And, I like tech. I'm pretty natural, had a pretty natural gift at it. And so being able to like figure things out, problem solve, and then come up with solutions and be able to, sell them to people that were needing help with that. That process really got me, excited and filled with purpose. And so now I like to help other people, figure out what they're passionate about, what they can make money doing, and that also fills me up with purpose.
Quite a journey, Josh. And in terms of healing, I think people feel that technology can not really play a part in healing, but I do believe we can definitely use AI instead of AI or technology using us for our own growth, for our own development. Maybe it can help ourselves to understand better. So it's all possible when we do it mindfully. So now let's talk about it, Joshua. So many people see AI as overwhelming or impersonal. I think the biggest fear is if we are using it for our personal use, then there is a bit of a privacy abuse attached to it, because after all the data and everything, it's still there. It goes to the data centers and everything. So how can we shift this mindset, and how can we use AI as a mirror for self awareness and growth without having this fear of privacy invasion or something like that, which I guess social media is really really very common danger right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to call this, digital well being. And that term used to mean, how much screen time are you getting, right? And that was what us 5 years ago we're like taking into consideration, right? Being aware of. If you end up, on your screen scrolling too much a day, it definitely has a big impact on your life, on your, sense of well-being. And I think digital well-being is now expanding into a bigger topic, and privacy is a big aspect of that, right? Uh, what are we doing online, and what are we exposing ourselves to, and what are other people doing with our data that's out there? And I'm a big advocate for AI because it's a very powerful tool. The most important thing is to not be naive about it and understand what it is, right? It's not Terminator, and it c right now, it's just this helpful tool. It's a large language model. These things have been out for about 3 years now. OpenAI was the first one to produce a functioning one, and these things can be, good, used for a lot of good, or, they can have malicious, purposes for them, right? Um, and it's more important, I think, right now to understand what they are, what they can do, the benefits that they can help us out with, um, then like to be afraid of Terminator, but also with privacy, um, unless you have a dedicated computer with protocols on it, we are, shedding data all day long on all of our devices that we really don't have any control over. And it's a big issue, and it's gonna be even bigger coming up because, uh, our data, we've had online data for 10, 15 years that we've been leaving behind us, but now there's AI systems that can process all that data. And this is a new kind of concern that we're moving into, is that, using all this data and kind of pointing it back at us for targeted advertising. I'm sure everybody has kind of had that weird moment where they were talking about something,
Exactly, yes.
getting an ad about it a little bit later, right? This is all going to increase in intensity and the like targetedness of these things. And so I'm a big advocate for privacy, and I think we should all have a dedicated machine that we can run locally, and that information doesn't leave our house, especially for things like finance and for, sensitive communication. And because of AI, we're now able to have localized AI systems that are going to be able to live on our computer where that data stays local. So these things are coming and they're not quite here right yet. So, if you're a business and you're concerned about your IP and your sensitive business information, these things are coming online. Later this year, NVIDIA is just about to release this supercomputer that can run AI locally, and it doesn't have to leave like your office. So these things are going to be able to be readily available. And I think right now it's just more important to understand what AI is, practical
Mhm.
uses in your life, developing the habits of using these things, right? Going to ChatGPT or instead of going to Google, because Google has been feeding us answers, right? To where it's all habitual to just Google it.
Yeah.
But those answers have been paid to be there. It's not necessarily the best information out there. And it's not tailored to, your personal taste, which ChatGPT's search is pretty fantastic at being able to get me exactly what I want, like a recipe, no ads, just the information I need, and I don't have to, get hit with a bunch of SEO targeted information to get there.
Yeah. Uh, Lovely, lovely, George. That is so, so useful. It's really interesting. I think you make it feel like AI isn't replacing us. It's more of rather reflecting back what we need to refine. So that's really great. And as you mentioned about this, you talk a lot about digital freedom as well. So, for someone who is just starting out, how can they use AI tools like ChatGPT or maybe any other tools without losing their voice and authenticity?
Yeah, I really prefer to use the framework of 10-80-10. 10 is that initial spark, that idea, that
Mm,
that the beginning of a creative, outlet.
mhm,
That then moves into, AI, which can handle like 80% of the processing of that idea. And then you always want to come back at the end, 10-20% of human, giving it that human touch, right? Looking it over. Is it accurate? Is it, conveying what you want it to say? Is it in your words? If not, it gives you a great first draft to be able to turn it into what it is that you want. So, you are the initial spark. You are the one that touches it last. And that whole 80% can save a lot of time, can improve efficiency, help you brainstorm great ideas. So using it, with that formula in mind really gives you the control and the final say to be able to, put this to use in your life.
mm. And let's talk about your homestead, Joshua, because in our previous conversation, I really loved the idea of this. So, how does living close to nature influence your digital work? I mean, both the worlds are completely opposite. So, how do you uh, get these two like married, and what can our listeners learn from this relationship?
Well, I used to live downtown Seattle, right, in the concrete jungle, and I went a full year not even leaving the city, right? I was a city boy, and it wasn't until, I started getting sober that, my now wife, we would go and visit her family who lived on a farm. And
Oh,
I would go there and they'd put me to work. I'd be painting the barn and like eating good food that was grown in the garden. And I was blown away, right? Such a
mhm.
contrast to the lifestyle that I was living in the city, right? Where everything was, plastic wrapped there were no like grounds to sit on. And having that contrast really gave me the perspective of what I wanted more in my life. And I love, nature. I love the sense of well-being that I got from it. And that sense of accomplishment of like, doing some hard work, some hard labor in the garden or on the barn, and that, delicious meal afterwards. So wanting more of that led us in a direction of I had a conversation with my wife that and her parents that we all wanted to live on a big property together. They had lived this way in their childhood, and so we wanted to recreate that. Took 5 years to find just the right property. It had multiple dwellings, right, so that we could grow and grow, raise our family. And we didn't give up, and we found the right place, and we all moved in together. And that was about 7 years ago now. So now I have our house, my in-laws' house, and we built a pole barn. I'm out in the pole barn right now. This is where my office is. My wife, she works upstairs in her studio. She runs a fashion business and sells on Etsy. And and then we have raised our 7-year-old daughter. And then my mother-in-law, she is a master gardener that she was, taught back in the 70s. So she's retired now. She just, she's got plenty of gardening projects going on. I'm really great at digging ditches and picking up piles of garden material. So
Uh-huh.
they keep me really busy, and it's all about creating a balance in my life. During the day, I help out businesses all day long. But then when I'm done, I go out and my daughter is just excited to play with me. And then I spend the next, from about 2 o'clock to dinner time outside, you know, working on projects, playing with the kid, and really helping me stay grounded. Now, my wife, she's a little bit tech, she's not as into tech as I am, so I'll just say that. So she loves being in the garden. She would be in the garden all day long if she could, and that balance helps me stay grounded in my life and helps bring, how you are able to you're really excited about tech, but also, appreciate nature, appreciate family, and being able to like literally stay grounded. When I get done working, I have 3 monitors in my office. I feel all staticky when I like leave the room, and I take off my shoes, go walk in the grass, and it just grounds me like literally. And I like to do a little meditation after I get done with work, just so I can shift my brainwave state down to a place that is more, you know, playful, so that when my 7-year-old runs and jumps on me, I'm not still thinking about my emails, but I have that patience, that capacity to get down to her level and have some fun.
That is beautiful. That is such a beautiful balance and such a beautiful partnership in there. Um, that's really, really inspiring, Joshua. Okay, and before we wrap up, let's talk about your book. So your upcoming book, it explores AI dangers. So although the question reads one danger, but I'm gonna ask you for like what all potential dangers you think people aren't talking about enough, and how they can prepare for it without panic.
Yeah, it's a great question. And why I wanted to put together this list is because, people have valid concerns and some fears around AI, but the fears I was hearing were not really based in reality, right? There is no Terminators right now that people need to, run away from. But there are some legitimate dangers like autonomous weaponry. The governments are already testing these things out where, like drones are flying around controlled by AI, where before, there was always a human and the human decision making process in that loop that the governments are building. I think people should really speak up against that. Dangers of AI with deep fakes and creating fake videos, fake audio. People really need to understand you shouldn't really believe anything that's on the internet. You shouldn't believe it probably in the last 5 years, right? Like, unless there's some way to validate these sources, you should not be scrolling on Instagram and just believing a video that you see there, because these things can be, faked, and it can cause, right, panic or a lot of um, issues if people are just, believing these things. Um, Biased AI systems, these are things that I talk about in the book, to where, uh, people can become reliant on AI, but these biases that are built into the algorithm can slightly steer you in a certain direction. That's where, I want to have a localized AI system that is looking out for me and my interests, not, the big AI providers that are out there. AI powered surveillance, as I talked about earlier, right? Of now that we've have this long trail of digital data that we have been spewing behind us, now is the capacity for processing all that information that China comes to mind, right, with their social credit system that
Yeah.
uh, that there are real dangers if we get these powerful tools using all this data to keep us in line with rules. So these are things that I kind of really advocate for awareness around, so people can talk about these real dangers that we're going to be facing, if not now, in our lifetime, that can be avoided, but we need to be aware of them.
And I I also would like to share one thing. So, often we get all these trends, especially AI trends. The recent one we saw, I mean, that was really, really everywhere, with the Ghibli art, that people were posting their personal pictures and then getting converted into Ghibli art. I mean, there is an excitement in that, but do you think it is kind of dangerous from both the aspects? I mean, one would be that um, your personal pictures are your personal data, and not creating fear out of it. But if you look at it pragmatically, all of your I mean, pictures are still going to be there until someone is going at the center point and removing those pictures or the data. And secondly, this art Ghibli, it's all the entire essence of this art is the humans, they painstakingly create it, they make it, and somehow this essence is kind of getting taken away, from taking away the humanity from this art form. So, what's your opinion on this, Joshua? I would really like to know.
Yeah. Well, first I'll share, I tend to overshare with ChatGPT. I've been telling it all sorts of, things about me, and I upload all sorts of images. Um, and I don't recommend that to everybody. I'm kind of testing where the edges are. I have very firm values and principles that I live by. So, I feel comfortable with, figuring out where
Mhm.
safe feels good for me so that I can tell other people about it. And right now, you know, all the information that you feed into ChatGPT, there it's basically shredding it down into ones and zeros. And then if you choose to or not, it will then train itself with that information. But in no way is like my chat conversation going to show up over in Germany or something like that, right? So I actually want to influence this algorithm that's being trained with my values and with my, principles. So that's why I'm kind of like, comfortable with oversharing with these things as they get trained. With that said, a lot of controversy of the new image generation in the last couple weeks, and especially around Ghibli. Uh, that is a style of art, and you're not able to copyright a style. You can copyright, individual pieces. But I also, you know, believe that all humans, their creativity is a remix of everything that they've come in contact with. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. They try this out, they try that out. And the things that we create are massively influenced with, other creations that we've come in contact with. So we're now at a point where we can remix anything that we can possibly think of or come in contact with. And these tools, right? I never was a very good graphic designer. Now I have the ability to visually storytell because of these tools, everything that's in my head, right? I wasn't a great copywriter, but I can write some good, text on a website. I am now being able to 10x, 100x my creative output because I have come in contact with tools that can help me bridge what's inside my mind and make it into reality. So I'm really excited about this time that we're moving into. And if you're holding on to, IP, which, there's a good argument that IP is really damaging to the world's creativity in itself, right? Think of all the things that Disney is keeping on the shelf and not allowing to be out in the public square for things to be developed on. I think, the more that we have available to play with, the more creative stuff that we're going to be creating.
Makes sense. Great, great, Joshua. This was such a great conversation. So, if our listeners would like to connect with you, what's the best way?
Yeah, I have a website at joshuahale.io, JOSHUAHALE.io. And that is kind of my parent website. I got a bunch of little projects attached to that. If you want to work with me, you can hop onto a call and we can talk about what projects you might have in mind. And yeah, I'd love to be able to talk about people that are excited about AI.
Lovely. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes. And Joshua, thank you. Thank you so much for not just sharing your brilliance, but your truth. And you have really, really shown us that AI doesn't have to be a runway train. It can be a mindful companion, helping us grow, reflect, and thrive with intention. So, thank you so much for this.
Wonderful. And thank you so much for having me on.
And to all of my beautiful, mindful listeners out there, whether you are an entrepreneur, a creative, or just someone curious about self development in this digital age today, remember that technology doesn't define us. How we use it, it does. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep living mindfully. Thank you.